Images on the front and back. It'll be a full dome presentation. Our goal is to have our first show in less than a month on February 1, which is our usual kind of planetarium lecture, but the people coming to that are going to be very special because they're going to be here to see the first with the new system. And it's quite incredible because we are able to take you from essentially nano-sized out to the edge of the knowable universe. So we expect to have a lot of fun with that. And then on February 4th, we're introducing an exhibit on the black holes, the other side of infinity, but we're coupling that with, the black holes, but we're coupling that with a show, Black Holes, the Other Side of Infinity. And the two of them together are going to be quite special, so that's February 4th. I just wanted to mention that to you. Do we have any members here? Great, great. Okay, well, you probably have heard about this, but you're going to be hearing a lot more in the next month. We are playing with a schedule that's somewhat flexible because this has never been done before. There's no other theater, IMAX Dome Theater, such as we, that is going to have another platform for digital projection. It does mean we'll be able to experiment with different ideas and different concepts, as well as planetarium shows par excellence. So we're looking forward to that and hope you will be here to enjoy it. And we're delighted to be here as your host to introduce your real host, and that's Nicolas Reveles, well known around opera circles, especially in San Diego. He is the Geisel Director of Education for the opera. He is often seen on public television, UCSD television, and commercial television, always adding insight to what the operas are that the San Diego Opera is bringing to San Diego, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight. You are going to see a great film, Whales, which is, it's not a brand new film, but on the Dome and with the best, in my opinion, IMAX projector, also the oldest. You're going to have a great time. Here's Nick Reveles.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. And thank you to your staff and to the Lead Science Center for hosting this very special event, bringing opera and science and literature together. Very interesting sort of combination. This is a part of a series called Community Conversations that we sponsor at the Opera, in which we travel around to various organizations, arts institutions, museums, schools, to open up, even churches and temples and synagogues, to open up conversations about various subjects that are touched upon in the 4 opera productions that we do every season. And of course, the production that we're most looking forward to this year is the brand new opera, Moby-Dick, which premiered at Dallas Opera 2 years ago. We were one of 5 opera companies that helped commission this new work by the composer Jake Heggie and librettist, or the man who was in charge of the words, who wrote the words based on the Melville novel, Gene Shear. We'll be opening the opera on February 18th with 4 performances only, and it's selling very, very well, thank you very much. So get your tickets, quick. But I want to introduce you as well to my colleague, who is a senior research scientist at the Hubs Research Institute at SeaWorld, Ann Bowles, Dr. Ann Bowles. Ann, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. Ann is an expert in marine acoustics.
Bioacoustics.
Bioacoustics.
Yeah, add the word bio or
Bioacoustics, and has dealt an awful lot with sperm whales. And of course, Moby-Dick was a gigantic albino sperm whale. The book was written in 1851. It was based on some actual historical events that happened. But before we move on with the conversation, I'm just curious, how many of you have actually read, now be honest, read the whole thing, Moby-Dick? Now, it probably wouldn't have entered your mind, even if you loved opera when you were reading that book, right? That Moby-Dick could be an opera? Yeah, think about it. How many pages is it? About 900, right?
Wow.
It's a very lengthy read. It is the great American epic. It's a seafaring adventure. It's about whaling. It's actually about many things. And Melville creates a kind of a cosmic universe on this ship, this whaling ship, the Pequod, that goes out for a couple of years, supposedly to go whaling. But of course, it is captained by a man who is obsessed with this white whale that tore off his leg in one of the previous whaling expeditions that he was on. And so the entire book really is a denouement. We know what's going to happen. You know, he needs to confront the whale, Moby-Dick. He is about only seeking vengeance on Moby-Dick and killing that beast, as he calls it, that dumb beast, as he calls it. The book is filled with scientific information, at least as one could know science in 1851. And that astounds me. And this is actually probably one of the things that puts some of us off about reading this book. There are chapter after chapter about whales' biology and their behavior and who they are and what they are. Tell us a little bit about that. Did he get it right?
That was the good part.
Yeah.
Of that book. That's the part I loved. Melville, first of all, had what the one positive reviewer at the time that the novel was published said was a wizard power of description.
And there was only one good review. It destroyed his writing career. Yeah.
So that, I think, is one of the best characterizations that I've ever heard of Melville's writing. He was a wonderful observer, and it's clear that he took careful logs and had a fantastic memory for detail. So a lot of it came actually out of his own experiences while on the whale ship Acushnet. But then he came home and spent years in the library, reading the records from whaling captains and medical professionals who went out on the whalers, accumulating everything that had ever been written in literary. For example, in the Bible, he pulled out every reference that ever had anything to do with a whale and kind of pulled all of this together.
With Leviathan. He simply went to his biblical concordance and looked up every instance of the word Leviathan. Yeah, he probably did. He'd have to, yeah.
So from that perspective, the detail in it is that somebody said that if you wanted to drop a book on Mars to get, to enable them to go whaling, you would give them Moby-Dick and they would be able to recreate the fishery.
That's fascinating. There were historical events that actually occurred that inspired him to write this book. Can you tell us a little bit about the Essex?
Okay, well, the incident that inspired him, that gave him the idea to write this book in the first place, was the sinking of the whale ship Essex by a large bull sperm whale in 1820. So the ship, it's a 20-year-old ship. It had been at sea for a year. At that time, the whales had been fished out to the point where they couldn't find them in the Atlantic anymore. They had to go around close to the equator in the Pacific Ocean. And the Essex went there, put out its boats. They were causing, merry ruckus among the females. And all of a sudden, the kids left back on the boat to, kind of keep an eye on things while the captain was out killing whales, saw this big, and at that time, it was realistic to find an 80-foot sperm whale. Now, when I came in here, I asked how long this theater is. It's 76 feet from end to end. So this whale, you could not project this whale life-size on an IMAX screen. And it lined up with the Essex and rammed it. And then kind of went off and shook off the shock, came around and rammed it again. And within 10 minutes, the vessel had sunk.
And there were 8 survivors, is that right?
Well, there were 21 men aboard the Essex at the time that it sank. And they managed to get everybody into the whale boats. But after that, their voyage to get back home again was the most harrowing experience you can imagine. For those of you that are interested, it's recounted beautifully by Nathaniel Philbrick in The Heart of the Sea.
Yeah.
But this is a real event, and in fact, in the year that Moby-Dick was published, there was a second such incident. Bull sperm whale sank the Anne Alexander in 1851. And Melville at that time was so wrapped up in the book that he kind of, oh my God, what have I let loose on the earth? I inspired this whale to sink the boat. But there was also a very famous, well, they called him Moby-Dick. He was not albino, but a very light-colored whale who worked the area off of Chile, the island of Mocha. And they first encountered him in 1810 because he attacked boats. He was famous for breaking up the whaleboats when they went out, ramming ships. There were apparently something like 100 different incidents of this whale being aggressive with the whalers. And they didn't finally get him until 1838. So for 28 years, this whale wreaks havoc among the whalers in the South Pacific.
And these whales can get quite old, can't they? They live...
Our best estimate is 80 to 90 years.
80 to 90 years. And this is the fascinating thing. You may not have been at the Hubs Institute when we had our community conversation there. I was astounded to find out the length of adolescence for a whale.
Yeah.
The sperm whale.
If you're a male sperm whale, you become mature in the sense of being able to procreate at about 10 years of age. You get to be in with the girls at age 20, and you can't really outcompete the others for another 30 years. So these guys, male-male competition is a big deal in sperm whales.
So it's like a 30 or 40 year adolescence.
Yeah, and
really,
they are
that's
feisty,
so scary.
especially with anything big. Not only are there these historical incidents, but I have one video of a sperm whale actually ramming a survey ship. He just took it into his head, this is big and I'm bigger.
Now, events like this, watching a film about whales, and by the way, Anne has worked mostly with sperm whales, and you will see no sperm whales in this film. I just want to sort of warn you about that. We're going to be dealing with different kinds of whales.
I've actually worked with a variety. I have worked with the humpbacks that you'll see here and also taken wonderful recordings in the Antarctic of sperm whales.
But it's great deep background for the opera. And for bringing an understanding of whales and whaling to the theater to see the opera. I found it interesting in talking to you. I sent you a copy of the libretto, of the text of the opera, and you read it. And I want to know what your reaction was to it. I mean, knowing the book so well, what you felt was missing from it.
Well, I read this thing, and all of this wonderful biological deep detail about whaling was gone. And so my initial reaction, I don't want to go see this, where's all the good stuff? But I've now had the opportunity to hear Jake Heggie speak about it, and to hear the music from it, and also to kind of go through the libretto with greater concentration. And it actually captures the really important point of the book beautifully. Because the book, when you take out everything else, is about this captain who goes out after this whale, completely divorced from reality, and that's a wonderful metaphor for exactly the way we're interacting with the rest of nature right now. And at the end, he runs into a brick wall, basically, which is exactly what you can expect to happen if you divorce yourself from. So as far as I'm concerned, they've captured the beautiful part of it. The other thing is that they focus on the mutiny, on the aspect, why didn't these guys mutiny? They knew he was nuts.
That's a really good question. He had such control over them. I mean, he was obsessed, and they captured his obsession, except for Starbuck.
So you ask yourself, why did they do this? And it turns out that sperm whales have exactly that same kind of dedication to their leaders. One of the favorite theories now for why a sperm whale strands is that one of them in a leadership position is having a problem and everybody else comes ashore with him or her.
I also find it sort of fascinating that Melville must have had a great sense of humor. First of all, Moby-Dick is a lot funnier than I thought it would be.
It's one of my favorite things about the book.
There's some really yucks in it. And there's some laughs at the opera, too, that they get from the book. But, so the fascinating thing about the great joke to me is that the book of Jonah from the Bible is a book that Melville refers to again and again in the book. And really, in a way, if you step back from the book, the structure of the book is very much like the structure of the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah is the shortest book in the Bible. It's like 4 pages. And Melville blows it up into macrocosmic proportions. And I think that's really one of the funniest things about it. Of course, nobody's laughing. So that's about it for us. That's enough introduction, I think, to the film. This film, called Whales, was made in 1997. It is an IMAX film. And we will be back afterwards for about 10 minutes of questions and answers if any of you have any questions about either the production of the opera or about whales. So thanks for listening and enjoy Whales. Thanks.